town famous for its heart-pounding excitement, high-stakes gambling, and fast-lane strip, Las Vegas, like a deft magician, hides its most thrilling and dangerous high-roller action from the eyes of the public. Don't look for neon lights, slot machines, or showgirls on this runway. It's Nellis Air Force Base, where the world's most realistic combat training exercise takes place. Here, bombers, fighters, and multi-million-dollar spy planes cruise the taxiways, preparing for battle. And the world's top pilots play a game where the bets are high, and the ante is upped with every beat of their hearts. It's called Red Flag. Pride. They come in strength, young warriors quick and brave. To learn of war from a master's lips, of friend and foe and cunning wit, and to dig their enemy's grave. Nellis Air Force Base, Las Vegas, Nevada, the home of Red Flag. A program designed to give the youngest, most inexperienced fighter pilots the lessons they need to survive in combat. They come from far and wide. Pilots of many nations from around the world come to test their mettle. 17 squadrons, 14 days, 106 aircraft, 1,600 maintenance personnel, 1,400 operations personnel, day missions, night missions, live ammunition, live ordnance, and a living, breathing enemy Red Air Force. All battle for one purpose. In a 150-square-mile lecture hall of rock, sand, and sweat, known only as the Range, experienced warriors teach their young apprentices the ways of war.
I'm Colonel Bill Shaw. I'm from the 366 Operations Group at Mount Home Air Force Base, Idaho, and I'm deployed down here as the Expeditionary Force Commander. My mission at Red Flag is to ensure that the wingman, or what we call Blue 4, gets trained in his first 10 combat missions. From when Red Flag was conceived, we were losing pilots during their first 10 combat sorties, and we felt that by creating this environment, we could overcome that hurdle and ensure our success in combat.
And what that environment is a real-life, real-time war mock-up, where young pilots are briefed and then execute mission scenarios out on the Nellis Range.
That's an untargeted group with an
During the 2 weeks a pilot spends here, the Red Flag staff will increase the difficulty of the missions to keep pace with their learning curve. Bombing runs on mock biological or chemical weapons plants, taking out surface-to-air missile sites, radar jamming, destroying enemy command and control, air-supported desert landings, and air-to-air dogfights are all part of the real-life war scenarios played out here. Putting on Red Flag is no easy task. It took thousands of people and over 8 months of planning to put on this 14-day Red Flag session. Colonel Mike McKinney, commander of Red Flag.
It's not just fighters, it's not just bombers, it's not just tankers, it's the whole war-fighting effort. So we have guys on the ground. The Army comes to participate. The Air Force does. The Navy does. Right now we have Great Britain here participating. We have the Israeli Air Force participating.
Over the 2 weeks at Red Flag, the young pilots can expect to see every aspect of modern air warfare integrated into the missions. Offensive air-to-air fighters, air-to-ground strikers to take out targets on the range. Low observable aircraft such as the F-117 and B-2 bombers participate. KC-135 tankers, C-130 airlift aircraft, AWACS and JSAR electronic surveillance aircraft. HH-60 helicopters performing combat search and rescue in case a pilot finds himself shot down in an enemy area. Over 100 aircraft, executing orders that would spin your head, and flying at speeds that could break your neck. Make this red flag the most realistic and demanding air war experience in the world. They call them Blue 4, the rookie pilot. The name derived from their position in a four-plane formation. The most inexperienced fly in the number 4 position. Blue 4 is combat certified, but has yet to taste real battle. He needs seasoning and a feeling of air-to-air engagement in order to survive in the real world's fast-paced theater of operation. Meet Blue 4.
I'm Captain Trent Triple, fly the F-15E Strike Eagle from Mountain Home, Idaho, the 391st Bull Tigers. And this is my first trip to Red Flag.
Trent's boss, Lieutenant Colonel Brian Kirkwood.
I feel that Trent's personality is perfect for, as a fighter pilot coming down here to Red Flag. It's a very push-it-up scenario. Spending time in Las Vegas is always good. My role as attachment commander down here in monitoring our young guys is to make sure they get the right combination of sorties, the right number of sorties, that they're flying with the proper supervision both in the airplane and in the element.
This is my first time here at Red Flag, and it's an amazing experience.
This is Lieutenant Jameson Basin, the finest weapons system officer North Carolina has ever produced.
Trent and his weapons systems officer, or WIZO, Jameson Basin, have just been certified as combat ready. As Blue 4, their first trip to Red Flag is an important one.
As I came into Red Flag, I guess the mindset that I had was I played college football, and this was the big game for us. You can practice and practice and practice, but very rare is the opportunity to really use your skills in a full-up combat exercise like we have here at Red Flag. So a little bit of nervousness, but they gave us a pretty good impression of what to expect.
The thing I most hoped to get out of this was being able to get bombs on target, on time, and incorporating that with so many other aircraft and capabilities out there that the Air Force has.
The first Red Flag that you go to is going to be your foundation for the rest of your career, I believe. They always say it's your first 10 combat missions. And granted, they're not real combat, but they're as close as you can get to it without going into harm's way. So this will be a memory that I keep with me my whole Air Force career, coming to Red Flag and understanding that, yeah, I can survive in an environment like this, and not only survive, but be successful and carry out the mission that we've been tasked.
Over the next 14 days, Trent and Jameson will be pushed harder than they have ever been pushed in order to make them better pilots. But exactly what are they looking for in a great pilot? What is it that makes a warrior?
I think you have to be obviously dedicated, okay? You have to be very confident, and you have to be the master of multitasking. Because when we go out there and fly, whether it's a single-seat fighter or a C-130 that's a crew or a tanker, you have to be able to listen, to react, to think, and to execute all at the same time.
I think a good fighter pilot has to understand their limitations. They have to be aggressive, but not so aggressive. Around having an understanding of your surroundings, both from a flying standpoint, you know, when you're looking at your weapon systems and you're trying to multitask and do a lot of different things all at one time, you have to be able to timeshare in what you're doing. And there's just some basic eye-hand coordination. I mean, some of it just comes down to having a good hands for being able to fly.
First and foremost, the most important qualities for a fighter pilot or a WIZO is work ethic. We can teach aviators a lot of things, but they have to be willing to work and willing to learn. Trent is a hard-working guy. All of those new guys are really force-fed a lot of information right off the bat, and he's really come a long way.
Coming in Red Flag, I don't think I had really had any great strengths. I've only been combat ready for 3 months, so I think my focus coming in Red Flag was just get the basics down. If I can do the basics, that's going to be my foundation for the years to come and be able to build on that. We got our official call signs this last weekend, just being new combat-ready guys. Mine is X.
And mine's Flash.
Before each mission, the Red Flag participants gather at Suter Hall, named for the founder of Red Flag, Moody Suter. A fighter pilot himself, Suter realized that young pilots in the Vietnam War were dying at an alarming rate because they lacked realistic combat sortie training. And Red Flag was born. This is the mass briefing where pilots get filled in on the day's mission. The data comes fast and furious. If the rookies blink, they'll miss it.
3, 2, 1, hack, 11:30. Please take your seats. Welcome to the afternoon Mission Commander Brief. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ken Easy Riser. I'll be Chip 01, the Mission Commander today. Deputy Mission Commander is Chip 3, Captain Cowboy DeCook. Slide. Roll call. Cylon. Crate. Disco. Phaser. Harley. Hydra. Chip is here. A Mission Commander is the one person who is held most responsible for the planning, execution, and debrief of a given mission. Rolex will be in 5-minute intervals, no later than 5 minutes prior to the first push, and it will always be cumulative. The trickiest part of this mission is going to be for everyone to survive to the point where they can get their bombs on target. Given that the threat array they have here at Red Flag is better than any that we have at any of our home stations, we're pretty much driving right through the middle of a lot of the threats in order to get that good training that we can't get at home. So it's going to be very, very challenging to bring everybody home today.
All else being equal, we're going to descend to the 15 to 19 block about the time we get to Bear Paw. We won't cross south of the Reveille border until we get to that block, so we're deconflicted from Phaser and Cylon.
Captain Josh Fry with Branch 46 for the airlift package, and we got Major Gat for the deputy. Crate. Slide. Drop zone information for Keno North, running on 250 mag course, escaping to 250. Branch 46.
Learning here at Red Flag is probably like trying to take a drink from a fire hose.
Dropping training bundles.
The first day, it's absolutely impossible. I know that they sit there and can't possibly figure out how they're going to be successful in this.
Slide. Okay. Out in the areas, they're saying that there may be a broken deck, 20 to 30. Other than that, it should be scattered. Back
What
here,
is really interesting to watch as we go through a Red Flag is that the first mission, the wingman come back with his eyes wide open. This is the first time he's really seen 80 airplanes with a full integrated air defense system with a very robust red air.
Slide.
I can tell you that here at Red Flag, we make the missions more difficult than any real-world scenario that we expect our crews to come against in the near future.
TAC leaders with safe separation from trailers. For head-on passes, clear to the right, no side, go side, no front quarter gun attacks greater than 135 degrees, and break off your pure pursuit missile attacks by 9,000 feet in order to avoid the bubble, which will be 1,000 feet today, above the transition altitude, 1,500 feet below. Slide. Ingress, egress, and cruise in your assigned block. You're required tally all prior to leaving your block. If you lose tally or essay, then lag the last known position and return to your block. And undelayed transitions to the adversary block are okay as long as you're properly deconflicted. Slide. Slide.
You have a ZSU 23-4 located north of the SA-2 Bravo Fox. You have 2 fulcrums. Next slide. Next slide.
Anybody's not squawking out there and needs to get away, go ahead and stay within 5 nautical miles of the north border of Reveille at 17,000 feet, and you'll be safe.
Next slide. 20 to 26. It's going to be all the medium altitude strikers are going to be RTB, and we still have min asset to 8 players, so we're going to move the C down to the low block. They take 15 to 16, and we go.
Questions for me? A lot of the people that are in this Red Flag, this may be their last dress rehearsal before they actually are dropping bombs in combat. So this is a chance to get the rust off and really sort of do a graduation exercise so that we're ready for the real thing.
Arriving here at Red Flag, feelings that are going through and the thoughts that you're having, there's a lot going through your mind. You feel like, you know, as a Blue 4, a new guy here, never been here before, brand new to the jet, you're wondering if you're going to be able to survive. The horror stories and all the pressure they talk about coming to Red Flag, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders. I'm going to learn a lot. I know that, good and bad. But I hope that the stuff I learn, I'm going to be able to stick in my clue bag and use in the years to come to be able to become a better fighter pilot.
In order for Red Flag to succeed in instructing their young warriors, they had to develop a real-time system of assessment. One that was foolproof and one that would allow the pilots to see for themselves what went wrong. They needed a referee who could call the kills and call them right. Radio Training Officer Steve Cutshall.
The NAX pod stands for the Nellis Air Combat Training System. And what the NAX pod is, it looks like an air-to-air missile on an airplane. It usually sits right where a missile would sit on an airplane. And what that has, it has a GPS transponder in it, and that is able to send down the location of that airplane to the ground, which is then relayed back to us from a microwave. It's all done real time, and it just gives us the position of that aircraft. It gives us the altitude of that aircraft. We can tell his speed. We can tell how much G's he's pulling, his heading, all that kind of stuff. And we use that information once he calls a shot to assess that shot to see if it would be a good shot or not.
The scenario for this first mission is that a country called Tularia has undergone a regime change. The Tularian Minister of Defense has fired a Scud missile into his neighboring country called Kalusia and has threatened the use of biological and chemical weapons. The F-15 Strike Eagles, with X and Flash, will charge in and take out a suspected chemical plant. This is their first mission, and the advice to the Blue 4 is simple.
Don't hit the ground, don't hit your flight lead, and then don't run out of gas.
When I sat in here for the first brief and understood the full picture of what was going on, the whole time I was thinking, I just got to hang on to the jet. I got to keep sight of lead, and he's going to get me through this. Okay, I want to be a good wingman, and a good wingman is in position at all times, being a good support for his flight lead.
To me, the full appreciation of Red Flag, where you experience not necessarily a fear, but an excitement, a thrill of the hunt, if you will, is it all comes together as you're rolling onto the runway, and you kind of realize at that point that not only did the 2,000 or 3,000 people that made this mission happen for your specific training and the training of all your buddies out there, is that you're pretty much pressing the highest roller coaster you've ever been in your life. It's going to be a wild ride that you're not going to fully recover from until about an hour or two after you land and realize the magnitude of the mission that you just went through.
On the side of the F-15 Strike Eagle that X and Flash fly is a shield with a Latin phrase, Audentes fortuna juvat. Fortune favors the bold. Trent Triple and Jameson Baisden had a successful first 2 days at Red Flag. In their first mission, they followed their flight lead in and took out a simulated chemical weapons plant, and then safely returned to base. Not all Blue 4 were so lucky.
There really aren't mistakes that are common errors that you can just say, hey, here's a common error, avoid it. We're pushing you to your physical trained limits. We expect you to make a mistake, and then we're going to come back and talk about it and tell you how to avoid it later on.
Franco, there were several airspace violations today. We'll cover those more in depth.
Evaluation and debriefing is probably the most important aspect of Red Flag. First, it allows the Red Flag staff to see how a Blue 4 is progressing. They then know how far they can push the pilots on the next day's missions. The debrief is also a chance for Blue 4 to get a brutal look at himself. Knowing what he did wrong and how to fix it is crucial to keeping him alive in real battle.
Various colors of the airplanes represent various types of mission roles that these aircraft perform. As you see on the the screens, the red, obviously, that's the aggressors. Those are the bad guys. They're in the western part of the range. On the eastern part of the range are the blue forces. The light blue or the cyan is the air-to-air players. We call them the OCA, offensive counter-air players. Those are the F-15Cs. Those are the guys that are primarily rolled to go out and kill the aggressors. The other colors you're going to see primarily probably are dark green. Those are basically your strikers. Those are the guys that are going to go out and drop the bombs. That doesn't mean they can't also shoot air-to-air, too, because they can do both roles. But primarily, they're strikers. They're going to drop the bombs.
Airspace violation on that Alpha by Rancho is going to be grounded tomorrow.
Monday's mission was very interesting. It was a day mission. I flew in it. I was on the red side that day. A typical red flag scenario, if you will. Again, we had about 40 airplanes on the blue side. We had 7 MiGs on the red side. A great brief, a great plan. We went out and flew, and then we started noticing things in the air of that would kind of make the hair on the back of your neck raise up. And by that I mean guys maybe flying out of the area where they're supposed to, or guys entering the range too soon, guys entering the range or exiting the range later. All these little things were starting to add up, and from being in the Air Force for a while, you can kind of tell when things aren't going as good as they should.
Stop. Airspace violation 08 Alpha. Those guys are going home tomorrow.
Our debriefs notoriously are very honest and very brutal, to where we will sit down and figure out, and we'll stay in the room as long as it takes till we figure out exactly why the people made their mistake and what they were doing. If a guy makes a mistake because he flew through an unauthorized area or flew out of the area, things like that, we take that pretty serious to the point where guys may not fly the next day, so they have a chance to restudy the rules and the regulations. In fact, there were a couple guys sent home. Not the first time it's happened, not the last time it's happened, but again, proves the seriousness of some of the mistakes that guys can make.
Five days into red flag, the pace begins to quicken. The jets are flying in a full-out war scenario, and that means they have to be fully operational at all times. Trent will rely heavily on his maintainers to keep his jet ready.
Well, we've got 19 units, 103 airplanes with over 1,600 maintainers out there on the flight line. My job is to make sure that operations go as smoothly as possible, that we're flying and fixing safe airplanes. The key for maintainers is, you know, up at 30,000 feet, there is no opportunity to pull over the side, pop the hood, and call a tow truck. You know, it really is a one-mistake business. We have to make sure that we are doing things by the book, regimented every single time.
The most satisfying part of my workday is after I work on an aircraft that could either be broke or not even broken, just even turning the aircraft and seeing that aircraft take off, watching it take off, knowing it's going to, you know, kick some butt and come back and the pilot just thinks it was the best aircraft he's flown. That's a good feeling.
The relationship between a pilot and the maintainers is very special. There's a special bond when the crew chief straps the pilot into the airplane and sends him out on that sortie. It's almost like sending a brother or sister in the air into harm's way. You want to make sure that they have every advantage to go out there and execute the mission, execute it safely, and get back home.
391st AMU, the maintenance crews that work on our jets are top-notch, and I'd put them up against anybody any day. We're looking tonight for high-value targets, scud launchers, weapons of mass destruction, stuff like that. And we're working with the intel assets in the area. They'll find stuff for us, tell us where it's at, and then we'll try to target it and destroy it. So it's kind of a new spin at red flag. They haven't done that a whole lot. Normally it's a traditional big, everybody push it once, fight an air threat, destroy targets, and then everybody egress. We'll be kind of staying in the area for a while trying to find targets as they pop up.
At Red Flag, there are many threats. Not all of them out on the range. One of the biggest threats can be Las Vegas itself. Statistically, the day with the greatest number of mishaps at Red Flag is the Monday following the mid-session weekend. Pilots lured by the bright lights of Big City aren't as sharp, and Red Flag knows it. They call it Safety Day. But as seen in this video shown to the rookie pilots, it can be anything but safe. For Trent Triple and Jamison Baisden, having experienced what they thought were the toughest mission scenarios they could ever face, Red Flag is about to get even tougher.
OC, I've been told you want to hold in the bomber block. Okay.
The mission planners will specifically plot and design new scenarios that will require more skill and courage from Blue 4.
If I can have a guy from you, it would be great, and if I can have an answer to whether you are able to, allowed to, sim deed the 2s and 3s on the way in.
Right now, I know we actually would prefer to press in and surface the 2 block, just because that way we're pretty much guaranteed to get the
In these
off.
planning sessions, seasoned veterans will add more planes, a faster environment, quicker response time, more surface-to-air threats, more AAA threats, compressed time over target windows, all to make the second week at Red Flag a high-pressure, fast-paced, vertical learning curve. But if that's not enough, X and Flash have another surprise waiting for them. There is a nasty little group at Red Flag whose sole purpose for living is to give Blue 4 hell. And in week 2, they show no mercy. Meet the aggressors.
Here at Red Flag, the aggressors provide the threats that the Blue Air goes up against. So we're basically the enemy, the bad guys. We fly simulations of MiG aircraft and Sukhoi aircraft in tactics and weapons and deployment like we think the enemy might do in the real war. We don't have new guys in the aggressors. It's all guys with thousands of hours of fighter time under their belt.
When we merge with the guy, the gloves come off. I am no longer a Red Air pilot. I'm redneck flying an F-16 the best way I can, and I'm going to kick the guy's butt to teach him a lesson that I should have never been there.
The airplane we fly is the aggressor, the F-16 Viper, and it's all C-model single-seat airplanes. We have different camouflage paint schemes that you can see, both brown and blue to simulate MiGs and flanker aircraft. And so that way you can visually identify them as enemy airplanes too when we're flying out there.
X and Flash will have to be particularly careful today. Their first week has gone well, but now the ante has been upped, and today they are dropping live bombs. Their plane has been moved to a desolate area known as the revetments, which is located on the far side of the Nellis runway. So if something goes wrong with the ordnance they'll be sitting on, only the revetments are obliterated. last mission, a final test for Blue 4. Captain Trent Triple and his Wizzo, Jameson Baisden, will fly into the heart of the Red Force to protect a C-130 as it lands and drops off troops. Intel has briefed them that the Talarian Minister of Defense is massing troops along the border between Talaria and Kalusha. Invasion is imminent, and the Coalition wants to get troops in behind the enemy lines. Mission time 1522 local. As X and Flash strap themselves in, the mission has already begun. The Coalition has an ally in the air that leaves the base long before the fighters. Staffed by a select group of military personnel, the Airborne Warning and Control System, or AWACS aircraft, is built on a Boeing 707 airframe. Its crew are connected to Trent and the other mission pilots and can whisper valuable information into their headsets.
We are the command and control for the Red Flag. We provide information to all the fighters out there, provide them the big picture, and provide that through links to all participants, whether it be on the ground or in the air, and also assist the fighters as far as taking care of any of the enemy aircraft and shooting them down, putting bombs on target on time.
Mission time 1525 local. As the AWACS leaves Nellis, another asset is preparing to relay the first information back from the battlefield. 40 miles away from Nellis is a base called Indian Springs, home of the Predator. The Predator is an unmanned surveillance aircraft that is piloted from a remote position. The Predator is able to fly out over the range before any of the fighters even get there, to give up-to-the-minute intelligence reports as to the current positions of enemy targets and troop movements. Mission time 1535 local. The Predator reports back that 2 previously undetected mobile SAM launchers have moved into place near the selected desert drop for the C-130. As Trent and Flash take off, they hear this update and know that their job just got a whole lot tougher. The Predator clears the area, and the AWACS sets up position high above the impending battle. At 1605 local, X and Flash arrive west of the 115 grid line, the border between the countries. But before they launch into the attack, they have to top off their fuel tanks. Hooking up with a KC-135 tanker can be a nerve-wracking experience. Trying to line up with a tiny nozzle at high altitudes while you're running out of fuel can make even the seasoned pilot appreciate a good full-service gas station. Once topped off, the fighters form up for the first attack. Their crossing into enemy territory is called the push. The first to push across the 115 grid line are the air-to-air fighters to take on the aggressor squadron, who are waiting to teach some lessons. At the same time, F-16 SCJs push in to light up the surface-to-air missile sites so that everyone knows where they are. Mission time 1635 local.
Tower, break up. Sam, you're past 9 o'clock.
With the aggressors occupied, the strikers move in. Trent and Flash are ever conscious of surface-to-air missile sites that Intel might have missed.
I think the most dangerous thing on the range, just getting so involved, we call it task saturation, which especially for the younger folks is a big deal, where you're doing so much, you're so involved in what you're doing that you kind of forget how far am I off the ground, how close is my wingman, those kind of things. And you got to make sure you're not running into other airplanes with the ground.
As X and Flash head toward the C-130 drop area, word comes in that a tank column has been identified right in their route of flight. The 2-plane formation will take it out. X follows his flight lead in, and Flash pickles the bomb. A direct hit.
Dark Star, picture clean.
While Trent and Flash circle the desert landing strip, providing cover for the C-130, the call goes out from a downed pilot. Red Flag has simulated an F-16 pilot ejection. He is down and taking hostile fire. 2 Pavehawk helicopters arrive for the rescue. While F-15s chase away any hostile aircraft, the Pavehawks and pilot are protected from ground attack by A-10 Warthogs, the ugliest and meanest plane on the planet. C-130 X and Flash have been protecting is trying to clear the area, but an enemy aggressor has them pinned down. Trent's flight lead has been killed. X and Flash are on their own in a dogfight with the Red Air Force.
When you're going, 450, 500 miles an hour, a few hundred feet off the ground, there's a chart they call time to die chart, which means you can hit the ground pretty fast. Especially when you're banking, if you're doing a turn, maybe looking over your shoulder at one of us, an aggressor chasing you down or something, you need to keep looking outside as well, because it only takes a few seconds and you can hit the ground. So you got to really task prioritize down low. Watching outside is the biggest thing, and then worrying about how you're going to deploy your weapons and what the aggressors are doing back there, behind you or in front of you, whatever the case may be. So you just got to really keep your cranium on a swivel, no doubt about it.
Fortunately for X and Flash, they have something going for them that the Red Air doesn't. The AWACS.
I'm talking to the F-15 driver, and what I'm trying to do is build a picture for him so he can see what I see. I've got a big picture. What I want to do is enable him to launch his missiles and kill the bad guy before the bad guy can kill him. 10 wide, 10 deep. South lead group bullseye 27015, 25,000 hostile. North lead group 30,000 hostile. Trail group high fast flyer 40,000 hostile.
Cowboy 1, kill me, 3,500 feet. Point 2, kill second back, 4,500. Cowboy, break up. Sam, you're left 9 o'clock.
Physically, a flight in an F-15E can be pretty demanding, depending on the type of mission you're flying. If you're flying a no-kidding air-to-air fight in a phone booth with a knife with another guy, you come back and they got to pour you out of the cockpit because the G's put a lot of stress on your body physically. Mentally, it can be exhausting.
When you're out there and you have adversaries that are in the air and you lock them up and you're able to shoot them down, it's a very satisfying feeling. Also to go to the target and successfully put the ordnance which you're carrying onto that target and destroy it, and then come home knowing that you had 80 people that came together as a team and accomplished the mission is a very, very rewarding experience.
Mission, we did have a kill in our aircraft. We were defending a C-130 that was doing an airdrop, and he was on the ground trying to get out of there, and we raged in, me and flight lead. Unfortunately, flight lead got shot, and we were kind of by ourselves, so we picked up the Red Bandit, ingressing in, threat to the formation, and we were able to get a shot off on them. It was a good feeling, knowing that you were contributing in that way.
The 2 weeks of Red Flag have left their mark. Their first 10 missions have taught them lessons that will last a lifetime. New swords tested, old swords have a new edge. And a new generation of warriors has been forged.
This is the best combat training next to real-world combat that we can do. And after you come off the Red Flag range, when you go over into Iraq, Afghanistan, or any other country, that it's a lot easier than what we make it for our crews here.
One word I think to describe Red Flag, probably not one that you would hear very much, is discipline. Because we have to be disciplined to be able to execute this complex plan and make sure that all the guys that go in are the same guys that will come out.
I definitely feel like I'm going to be leaving Red Flag as a better pilot. When you step out to a jet and you got to meet a time on target, and there's 70, 80 other aircraft involved in your mission, kidding has to be on top of your game.
I thought first time coming in, it'd be great working with all the other coalition forces and seeing how the big picture works, but after leaving here, the best part is really just dropping the bombs. That's really the best part. The training you can have here with the live ranges, it surpasses your training back home. I'm definitely needing a better trained aviator.
We like to think as fighter pilots when we're up in the air that that's all that exists, is us in the fight, and that's all that's going on. But coming to Red Flag, you saw it was a humbling experience because you understood how much effort and work went into getting us to that point where you're dropping a bomb or shooting another plane.
Red Flag prepares our warriors to go ahead and execute their mission, which in turn, with the direction that we're given, yes, we will absolutely make this world a safer place.
There are times when you get up and you're flying around among the clouds and you forget about everything else and just enjoy being up in the air, flying around, supersonic, doing what a lot of people will never come close to be able to doing. That was what it was all about for me. Flying in between canyons, flying right over the top of peaks, cutting back down into the valleys. You felt like you were a hero.
Coming up next, it's back-to-back episodes of the latest and greatest in military programming on Military Showcase, next on the Military Channel.